those who have lost loved ones and who have fallen ill, and we will continue to remember to reach out to those as a community and to keep our arms around everyone who has suffered during COVID-19. Across Prince George's County, I have seen family helping family, friends have been helping friends, neighbors helping neighbors. I am so proud. I could not be any more proud than the way that Prince Georgians have really stepped up during this crisis. I'm proud of our community during these difficult times, and I have to tell you, I would not want to be anyplace else. There is absolutely nothing like a Prince Georgian, and I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for how seriously you have taken this virus. You have so much respect for it and for the lives that we want to preserve, and I just want to say thank you all so much for that. You have done everything that we have requested, wearing the masks. You all are social distancing. We thank you so much for following our guidance. But what I have to tell you also is, and I'm sure Dr. Carter will hammer home this point in the way that only Dr. Carter can, our COVID-19 metrics are still higher than we would like for them to be. Some of our metrics, in fact, have actually gone up. So for now, as we approach the fall and the holidays, we are remaining in phase 2 reopening. Preliminary data for last week shows that our positivity rate has actually increased from 3.9% to 4.3% for the week of October 18th. We want to ensure that our positivity rate is stable at a low number, not gradually increasing. Our infection rate has also increased slightly since our last update, now sitting at 1.07 as of October 20th. And finally, for the week of October 18th, we had a 19% increase in cases, with 852 new cases in total for that week. And this is the highest number of new cases in a week that we have seen since the beginning of August, and so we are concerned about that. I want to note that these increases are not unique to us. As you just heard from John Erzin, our Deputy Chief of Staff, we are seeing increases across several jurisdictions across the state, and we will continue to do everything we can to keep Prince Georgians safe. And it goes without saying that we will continue to work as well with our regional partners to limit the spread of this virus. I want to thank all of our residents and also our business community for their continued support and vigilance and diligence. But we still need your help to help combat the virus. You've heard me say it once, I will say it again. This virus is still with us, and unfortunately it's still spreading. And so we have to do everything that we are being instructed to do by Dr. Carter and the rest of our team, to wear the mask, to practice social distancing, and to wash your hands frequently. Another area of potential concern for COVID-19 transmission is Halloween and Thanksgiving. And as you know, a few weeks ago, we actually released guidance regarding Halloween and our hope that we will be able to have a safe Halloween experience over this weekend. And in a moment, Dr. Carter will provide additional detailed guidance on Halloween and the Thanksgiving holiday, which you know is just a month away from now. But what I can already tell you is that we're urging residents to please continue to understand that this is a holiday season like no other. We will prayerfully have an opportunity to gather in the way that we are accustomed to, but this holiday season is not it. And I'm sure Dr. Carter will emphasize that, that as we approach the holiday season and the weather gets cooler, it is so important that we avoid gatherings, these large gatherings at each other's homes. You know, there's no other way to say it. What Dr. Carter, I'm sure, will tell you is that these large holiday gatherings with people outside your household are just dangerous. They really are just dangerous, and they present a special risk for the spread of COVID-19. And with all the recent increase in cases that we have seen, it just is even more critical than ever that we are vigilant in the coming weeks to stop the spread. And what we know from contact tracing in our county, and we keep track of this, and statewide, when we ask people where they have been recently, the people who have tested positive for COVID-19, they're telling us that they have most recently been at a family gathering. So this information is really critical for us. It means that as people have been asking me, for example, well, what else do you intend to close down? The truth of it is, how do I close down someone's household? But that's where the spread is happening. is that these large family gatherings are just flat out unwise. They just are not. And so we're asking people to remember that as we move into this holiday season, it's just painfully clear that what is usually marked as a time of joy, we do not want to be marked with tragedy. We just don't. And so we're asking that we avoid the gatherings as much as possible. Instead, please consider hosting. If you're hosting with people who are outside your household, please consider to host a remote gathering, or if you're hosting something in person, please make sure that it is a small gathering with a limited number of people, with everyone wearing face coverings as much as possible and practicing physical distancing. And I know that it will be difficult. It'll mean that Thanksgiving and the other holidays that we're approaching will not look the same as normally, but our top priority right now is your health and safety and that of your loved ones. And so the guidance from our health officials will ultimately help us keep our loved ones and each other safe. And so as a reminder for Halloween, we're advising please against the traditional door-to-door trick-or-treating this year. Instead, we're encouraging families to do other activities like indoor, outdoor scavenger hunt for children, or walking around your neighborhood and looking at the Halloween decorations. Residents should avoid also the large-scale trunk or treat programs. Instead, I want to thank Elizabeth Hewlett and Maryland National Capital Park and Planning. They have planned really beautiful events around the county, drive-through trick-or-treat distributions that are taking place. I also want to thank our municipal leaders and other groups who are also planning some of those drive-through events to have something safe and wonderful for our kids to do. And it goes without saying that we're advising, again, people over Halloween, the large gatherings, the street parties, the festivals, the haunted houses are all no-nos this year. Now, I want to cover another important area, and that is emergency rental assistance program, a relaunch that we are now doing to cover. This is a program that is a much-needed resource for our community. As you know, the pain has been deep. With a large number of unemployment claims, individuals who have lost income, we're finding that rental assistance and food assistance are still very much needed. And so on Tuesday, we relaunched our emergency rental assistance program to support Prince Georgians who continue to experience financial difficulties due to the pandemic. And this program provides relief for qualified renters who are experiencing financial difficulty due to COVID-19. And we're providing rent payments to their landlords. Now, I have to tell you that this round of rental assistance looks a little different than the initial round. And the way that it looks different is that owners, landlords, or property managers must apply on behalf of tenants. Again, I want to be very clear that under this round of rental assistance, owners, landlords, or property managers must submit applications on behalf of their tenants in order to receive the assistance. To qualify, landlords must show that the tenants have a valid lease agreement, the tenant's annual income does not exceed 80% of the area median income as determined by HUD, and the household has a COVID-19 triggering event. We will disperse almost $6 million additional dollars in rental assistance through this relaunch on a first-come, first-served basis. Disbursements will be based on the actual rent and are capped at $1,800 per month for up to 6 months. Now, we've shifted the responsibility for these applications from tenants to landlords, so you know, to reduce the number of incomplete applications. We were deeply concerned because in the first series of this, we found that many of our tenants were attempting to apply but left us with a lot of incomplete applications, and we want to make sure that no one misses out on the funding. So because of those incomplete applications, and we were calling, many of our applicants were not responding. We made multiple calls and emails from our office to try to obtain the documentation needed, and we were missing those renters. And so this issue, which we know is not unique, again, to Prince George's County, as we've been in constant contact with other jurisdictions in our region, and what we're hearing is that they have experienced similar issues with their rental assistance programs. And so we believe that shifting the responsibility to landlords will simplify the process for residents who need this rental assistance. So the Department of Housing and Community Development is administering the program through its online owner-landlord portal. Instructions are available on their webpage to assist in using the online portal. And you can also visit our homepage, mypgc.us, for more information. If you are a renter who needs this assistance, we encourage you to reach out to your landlord, leasing office, or property manager. Our Department of Housing and Community Development has been working hard to distribute this information, but you can also send this information directly to your landlord to ask them to complete the application. The deadline for the program is Tuesday, November 10th, although we encourage landlords to apply as soon as possible. Again, it's on a first-come, first-served basis, and we need to get these funds out quickly, so please don't wait. Go immediately if you are a landlord to make that application, and if you're a tenant, please also go to your landlords immediately, and we'll continue to do everything we can to provide economic relief where it is needed most. I also, before I conclude, just want to add one other point about another economic program, and we'll give more details about that, launching as a result of dollars that are set aside from the state, $50 million in additional economic relief. Prince George's County is going to be able to utilize about $6 million additional dollars that we will be using to support restaurants. We want to make sure that these businesses survive in Prince George's County and that they are able to continue to employ, to keep employed many of our residents. And so we are providing additional supports to our restaurants who have really faced a really difficult season because of COVID-19. Them and all of their workers, and so we're going to continue to support them as well as much as possible as well. So we'll continue to provide information about how our restaurants can apply for those funds. Now, before I conclude, I want to remind everyone about their voting options for next week's election. And in fact, you all know we are right now in the midst of our early voting period. So far, we know that 267,533 Prince Georgians have requested mail-in ballots, and 173,608 have already returned their ballots. In addition to voting by mail, Prince George's County, and if I say this with a little bit of attitude in my voice, I'm so proud, let me just say, of Prince George's County. Prince George's County has seen a historic early in-person voting total. As you know, the state broke records this week in terms of its voter participation, and no surprise that Prince George's County led the way. We are #1 in the state on day one of early voting. 22,878 people showed up to vote, the highest number in the state, as we broke turnout records statewide. And on day 2 of early voting, an additional 21,148 residents came out to vote. Yesterday, on day 3 of early voting, 21,613 cast their ballots, bringing our 3-day total to 65,639, the highest in the state. So Prince George's County does not kid around. I want to thank all of you. We are so proud of the participation that we have seen, the engagement that we have seen. I have to tell you, I'm personally not surprised because I know how awesome Prince Georgians are and how engaged they are, but I am just really, really proud, and we want to continue that. If you've received your mail-in ballot but not returned it yet, please do so immediately at one of our 42 drop box locations. At this point, we're asking you, if at all possible, please utilize the drop boxes that we have. And if you must use the traditional mail, please make sure that you physically take that mail-in ballot into the post office to have the teller postmark it. And remember that the postmark must be on or before November 3rd. Please remember that. Please remember that, because we had a number of ballots that were disqualified during early voting. I'm sorry, not primary, during the primary June 2nd. So we want everyone to know this is a very important point. Please, we urge you, if you requested the mail-in ballot, take it to one of the 42 drop box locations immediately. Please do not wait. Time is of the essence. But if you are one of the individuals who prefers to take it into a traditional post office, please go inside, if at all possible, and have a teller postmark that by November 3rd. And if you have requested a mail-in ballot, and I also should say one other thing about the postmark, it has to be by 5 p.m. If you try to wait and stick your ballot into that mailbox after 5 p.m. on November 3rd, that's where we run into problems, because it has to be there earlier, before 5 o'clock. You can't put it in that box. It will be postmarked the next day and will be invalidated. So please, we prefer, if at all possible, go inside the post office and have that done. And if you've requested a mail-in ballot, it is important that you vote using that ballot, because if you requested a mail-in ballot but attempt to vote in person, your vote will be considered provisional. And I was out at the polling center yesterday, and I did see a number of people who walked up with their ballots in their hand, and that provisional ballot will delay your count by your vote from your ballot from being counted by up to 2 weeks. So if at all possible, if you have requested the mail-in ballot, please utilize the drop box and return it that way. The 42 ballot drop boxes are a secure way to vote by mail in this important election. You should know that that they should return the mail-in ballots by 8 p.m. On November 3rd to a drop box. But again, we encourage you to return it immediately if you have already filled it out. Now, let me make sure that was not confusing. You can return the ballot by 8 p.m., the one that you requested. If you requested the mail-in ballot and you receive one at your home, you can return that to one of our voting center, the drop boxes, not voting, the drop box locations by 8 p.m. I'm talking about the post office is the one you have to have postmarked. And I want to make sure that everyone understands that. But we want you to know that the drop box locations are secure. We have 24-hour security around those 42 drop boxes so that the integrity of your ballot we can assure you of. And for residents who plan to vote in person, and a whole bunch of you, as we have said, have come out in a tsunami to vote, we strongly encourage voting early at one of our 11 early voting locations. And polls should be less busy if you're able to vote either midday, and we expect that over the weekend we'll see that the volume will be a little lower as well. But please remember to bring your mask and practice physical distancing. And if you cannot vote until Election Day, remember that unlike a typical election, it's important that you know you will be able to vote at any of the 41 voting centers around Prince George's County. It does not have to be, in other words, the one closest to your home. You can utilize any one of the 41 voting locations around the county on Election Day, and it will be perfectly fine for you to do that. All of our voting locations can be found on the County Board of Elections webpage, elections.mypgc.us, and we're also working to make sure that there are no barriers for Prince Georgians to vote. I did receive a number of calls regarding our seniors. I'm going to talk about that, but I'm proud to announce that on Election Day, November 3rd, our public transit system, the bus, will extend service hours until 9 p.m. and on all active county bus lines. Also, the bus is still free for all riders, and this will assist those voters who rely on public transportation to get to the polls. I want to thank the Department of Public Works and Transportation and all of our frontline transit operators who are doing their level best and doing their part to support Prince George's County, not only residents, but in this instance who are supporting our voters. You can view the schedule and route information online at mypgc.us/thebus. And again, you can view the schedule for that bus, for the bus routes on mypgc.us/thebus. We also have plans in place to accommodate our seniors and voters with disabilities who are voting in person. I want to thank everyone who reached out to me. And as I indicated, I've been out. I'm going to be going out as well, just kind of driving around to make sure that things are going well at our vote centers. But I did receive a number of personal calls. Latasha Ward, thank you so much, who called me very concerned about our seniors and about their ability to access these polls, and those with disabilities who were having difficulty. So if there is a line, I want you to know this. For all of those who are concerned, and we're very concerned about our seniors and those who suffer with disabilities, that if there's a line at one of our polling locations, election workers are performing line checks all throughout the day just to make sure that our seniors and voters with disabilities who may be having trouble standing in line know that they are able to be brought inside to a waiting area where they are able to take a seat, and they'll be given a placeholder and a number for their spot in line, and when it is their turn, they will be able to check in with an election worker to cast their ballot. So we know that there are many who are not able to stand in line for extended periods of time, and those individuals will be identified by our workers and be given that number and allowed to wait in a waiting area. In addition, and again, I want to thank Elizabeth Hewlett and Maryland National Capital Park and Planning because we heard that some of our seniors in particular and some with disabilities were actually having trouble navigating the larger parking lots, getting from the back of the parking lot and walking up to our vote centers. And so because of that, Maryland National Capital Park and Planning is also now providing golf carts to pick up our seniors and those with disabilities from parking lots so that they do not have to walk. And this will be especially helpful at some of our voting centers, as I said, with the larger parking lots who may be actually far from the vote centers. So Betty Hewlett, Bill Tyler, and that entire park and planning team, we want to help. Thank you so much for helping us to coordinate that effort. Again, we're doing everything in our power to make sure that Prince Georgians are able to vote in this election, and we thank you for doing your part. We want you to not only vote, but to do so safely. And so, in conclusion, once again, I want to thank all of our residents for tuning into these updates. We really do appreciate that, the engagement, that you all share the information as well with everyone in our community so that we can have the information we need to be safe during these times. This pandemic has been one that we have really managed for so long now. And I know that all of us want our lives to return to normal. And I have already said it, I will continue to say that the coronavirus will absolutely not have the final say. COVID-19 will not have the final say. But it is especially important now as we approach this holiday season in particular that we remain vigilant and that we do the things that we have been doing this whole season long. You have done an amazing job of taking care of each other. And that's really, as I part and hand it back over to Dr. Carter, I just want to urge you on two accounts. Please don't let your guard down. Please don't let your guard down. COVID-19 is still here, and we just really cannot afford to have increased sickness. We cannot afford to have additional death. And I just want to ask you also very personally to please look out for each other. Don't forget during this holiday, there are so many who are suffering, who have lost loved ones, whose bodies have not totally healed yet. So let's please do everything we can to check in on those who we are able to, your neighbors, check in on the seniors in our families, and for those who you know will be suffering during this time. This has been a very devastating period for us. And so for those who are experiencing increased sadness and depression and everything during this season, let's please do our part to make sure we are doubling down to check on those we love. So again, thank you. I want to call Dr. Carter will give updates, and I want to thank him again for his leadership.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam County Exec. Thank you for your leadership through this challenging period in our county and in our lives. And the most important thing you should know about the county exec is that she cares about you. And I'm so grateful to be working in this administration during this time, because this is going to be a difficult time for us. And our county executive cares about you all, and she loves you. And so do I. So all of our decisions moving forward, it's really important for you all to know, that is our motivation from the start to the finish. Because COVID-19 is going to affect us significantly, and we got to be ready. I want us to be ready. We have to stay in phase 2 now, because right now when we look at the data, we have to stay solidly in phase 2. We got to be very cautious, and we got to follow this course. I'm concerned about what we're seeing in our numbers as we enter into the colder months, especially with the flu season. And as we brace for another potential spike in the COVID cases, we have to be vigilant about our numbers and what we do. My team and the county executives team look at a variety of COVID data points on a regular basis. But the key data points are the rate of new cases, the percent of positive tests, and the infection rate. These metrics are considered as a combination, not individually, when we examine what we're going to do in this county. So let's start with the first one, For new COVID cases, the county is on the rise. Toward the end of September, we had new cases ending up in the mid-600s each week. October has been bumpy. For the most part, they've been in the 700s. And as the county executive said last week, we had a 19% jump in those cases up to 852. It's the highest weekly mark for the county since August. Therefore, our daily case rate has taken a hit. The same daily case rates which are reflected by those numbers are up to 13.4 cases per 100,000 population per day. 13.4. This shows our risk is continuing to spread and to grow. We need to see the number stay below 10 on a consistent basis, but we're headed in the opposite direction. The positivity rate for COVID-19 tests is not going down on a consistent basis. That's the other metric, second metric. A month ago, we hit 3.5% positivity, our lowest rate since the start of the pandemic. It didn't last long, though. Right now, we're at 4.3%, and we're headed up. We are encouraged that we have been under 5% positivity for most of the fall. However, the county remains in the medium risk category for COVID transmission, which again means our risk of further spread is increasing. Now, the third metric, the infection rate, which measures how many other people someone with COVID infects. Our rate has gone up to 1.07 on average. Each person who has COVID-19 in Prince George's County is passing it on to about one other person. Now, I want you all to keep in mind, we're at 1.07. To be in the high range is 1.1. That's only 0.04 away. So we've been headed up. Now, where we want to be is below 0.9. We're not headed in that direction. So, of course, Dr. Carter is concerned. Seeing substantial and sustained reductions in all of these numbers will take all of us working together to make sure that we're making smart choices. And those smart choices are wearing a mask, because wearing a mask works. Staying at least 6 feet away from each other, because staying 6 feet away from each other works. Washing your hands and disinfecting your high-touch surfaces, that works. If you test positive for COVID, you must stay at home so you don't spread it to other folks in public. Even if you're waiting for a COVID test results, you should stay at home. And if you are a close contact of a positive person, get tested and stay home. If you come in close contact with a positive person, get tested and stay at home. A close contact can be someone who you live with or someone you work with. Those are examples. One of the smartest choices we can make is not having gatherings with people who are not in your household. Data from our contact tracing team, as the county executive has explained, continues to show that these gatherings and parties are the leading contributor to the ongoing spread. Of those individuals with COVID or their close contacts who reported participating in a high-risk gathering recently, get-togethers with family and friends are the leading event. So we got to be careful. And with the holidays coming up, this is significant. It also doesn't mean that going to a restaurant, indoor restaurant, is all that safe, because it is another point where you can get the spread of COVID. So you have to be careful about going indoors and really when you break your mask. Those are high-risk events. I understand COVID fatigue is setting in. I really do understand that. Despite that, though, Prince Georgians have stayed very strong on this, and we must continue to stay strong. This is a critical time in this historical defense of our collective health and safety. Holiday activities this year must include everyone wearing a mask, distancing at least 6 feet from each other, regular hand sanitizing, disinfecting of high-touch surfaces. And I know I sound like a broken record, but I have to keep saying this. This is the important part of what you have to do. As a reminder, the county strongly recommends Prince Georgians do not do the traditional door-to-door trick-or-treat this Halloween. If you choose a trick-or-treat, Stay with members of your household and closely follow health and safety guidelines. Indoor haunted houses are not allowed this year. We are also not recommending the trunk or treat kind of activities where treats are handed out from the trunk of cars lined up in large parking lots. The fall and winter now mean cold weather, and you know what's going to happen. People are drawn inside to celebrate for the holidays in November and December. The health department strongly recommends not attending or hosting holiday gatherings with people who are not in your household, especially indoor gatherings. Instead of traveling, consider holding a virtual gathering. If you choose to travel, driving your own vehicle will reduce your exposure to COVID. Please do not travel if you are sick or if you've been recently exposed to COVID, if you're waiting for the results of a COVID test, and do not travel if you have if you've been in close contact with somebody with COVID in the past 14 days who has tested positive. If you've been asked to quarantine, do not travel until the full 14 days of quarantine are up, even if you don't have symptoms. If you test positive for COVID while in your destination, isolate yourself from others for a minimum of 14 days or after a negative test and delay your return home. Also, be sure you can contact your physician so that they know. For holiday meals, if you choose to have or attend a small gathering, limit the number of people at the table so each person is at least 6 feet from each other during and after the meal. Consider single-use disposable utensils and dishware for serving and eating meals. Wash and disinfect guest areas before and after holiday gatherings. For holiday shopping, the best way to do holiday shopping is online. That's the lowest risk. Now, if you got to go out, you know you're taking a medium risk when you do in-person shopping, but if you're going to do it, you have to do it off-peak times, and that's still, you're at medium risk. Though at least off-peak, there are fewer people there. The highest risk shopping you can do is going into a crowded store, during peak hours, doing a holiday sale. But that is just something you should not consider. Now remember, everything we do this holiday season with others around us must include face masks, 6 feet distancing, avoiding crowded places indoors and outdoors, and regular hand washing and sanitizing. Resist the urge to let your guard down. We've come this far. We know how to do this. We know how this works. The arriving flu season, the holiday season, the cold season, and a possible surge in COVID cases, which will occur, is a dangerous combination for us as a people. As awkward as it may be, please have a serious COVID conversation with people in your life this holiday season, which I had to have with my daughters, which was not easy, because they want to come down from New York and Boston, and I had to say no. In the name of health and safety, show your love a little bit differently this year. So by next year, we can hopefully get our long-awaited hug and kisses that I really want from my daughters. I'm not going to tell you, I'm telling you the truth. I want them because I need them. But I told them they can't come because at this time, the COVID is not, we're not quite ready for that. So thank you all.
Okay, so with that, we'll take any questions that anyone has. Okay, well, let's go Tracy and then Will.
Let me just make sure the question, are you asking whether I believe children should be in school? I'm sorry, I was having trouble hearing you. Well, at this point, based on our increasing numbers, in other words, I don't know that things have gotten to a point where we're comfortable with the in-person. So I will rely on Dr. Carter, who can probably follow up. But as he mentioned to you, we are unfortunately seeing an increase in our positivity rate. And so that's going to be of great concern to us. The new case numbers So all of those are indicators that say that we are not headed in a direction where we would probably feel comfortable right now with in-person learning. I'm also hearing that there was a survey conducted by the school system where I believe our parents and school system professionals are saying that they likewise are feeling comfortable, more comfortable right now with their families at a distance. And so we will absolutely respect the opinions of our families, teachers, administrators, and others. And I know that Dr. Golson and the school system will make a good decision there, but I can tell you from the indicators that I'm seeing in Prince George's County, and I know that every jurisdiction is situated differently, it is, at this point, I believe, probably too risky for us to do this at this moment. I think we're in the safest posture that we can be in, although I have to acknowledge to you that I understand how challenging it is. This is a very distressing time. I have a daughter who is 15, and I can tell you it is exceedingly difficult, depending on your learning style, to learn physics at a distance, to learn geometry at a distance. These things are not easy for our kids. There are many of our children in Prince George's County, as you know, has a disproportionate share of students who suffer from disabilities. We have the largest number of students with learning disabilities in the state. So, you know, it is difficult for us. We have a large number of students who just, you know, it's a challenge to learn at a distance, but their health, safety, and well-being, as well as the health, safety, and well-being of their teachers and administrators is very important as well. And Dr. Carter, I don't know if there's anything you want to say about in-person. Okay, I think he said he agrees. So yes, so we know that we had, for example, 154,000 of our residents who filed for unemployment. I don't know what number of those, I can't say exactly what number of those require the rental assistance versus those who are struggling with mortgage payments. But I can tell you that we know we have a very large number of individuals who need the rental assistance. And again, as I indicated, the challenge we had is that we were actually not seeing the numbers we expected in terms of applicants because many were filing incomplete applications, missing information, and when we were trying to call them, email them, the renters to get the follow-up information, we weren't receiving it. So we don't want people who need this assistance to go without it, which is why the reimagined and the relaunch of the rental assistance program actually puts the responsibility and onus on the landlord and actually gives them the opportunity as well to file on behalf of renters. And we believe that that will aid renters in getting the assistance they need.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody.